2 questions, which are, what are you currently doing in your schools? And I'm writing it down on the PowerPoint, so when it comes back up, it'll be there for you. And then I'm going to ask you maybe some of the new ideas you have. I know you're not always in a position to make a lot of changes, but I believe all of us can make a difference. And so maybe something that you personally can do, or that you can do with your team, or whatever. So let's start off. What is it that you're already doing? Let's start here.
I was speaking about our school specifically, but in our county, we have a technical high school, and there is a STEM academy at a technical high school. The STEM academy includes pre-engineering, biomedical science, there's a business STEM, there's a interactive media production, and is that it? Okay. No, there's a green technology.
Green technology.
Green technology.
Okay,
So
good.
there's 5.
All right.
So that's wonderful. One of the issues is that the application process begins in 8th grade, and they are selected to begin in 9th grade. So the issue that JR and I run into often is that, you probably said this, is that by the time they get to us, counselors can't even advise them to consider the STEM Academy because they've already been filtered into it. Luckily, some of our programs at the technical high school that they're sort of trying to roll out at this point are also probably STEM-related careers. They're just not in the STEM Academy. And so I think that goes back to my feeling before about feeling like I wish they could like not go with this whole thought of it being an elite sort of opportunity for students and really letting students get into STEM, maybe get into like maybe STEM learning environments for a little bit in the maybe 9th and 10th grade, and then starting STEM.
Maybe I'll put STEM learning environments in the next slide down, so I can go to that one.
Yeah.
Because I like that too.
But in our high school, we do have, we run about 13 AP classes a year, and that does include, like this year we had AP Calc, AP Calc BC, we have AP Chem, AP Bio. We offer a number of different science courses. AP Statistics.
One of the things I'm trying to do at our institution, well, it's the way we define STEM is, I guess because I'm a biologist and I believe in taxonomy, but I created a classification system. So we have our our STEM programs. Those would be computer science, mathematics, whatever. That's a degree program. Then we have STEM-related programs. And in STEM-related, we get into automotive technology, we get into, I'm trying to think of some of the geospatial applications, we get into some of these other ones that heavily rely on STEM courses but are not specifically STEM. But then we have STEM outcomes. So for example, you could teach psychology and not have it be STEM at all. Or if you add a section in neuroscience, or you add a part on statistical analysis, now we're dealing with some STEM outcomes. And really, you could almost incorporate STEM outcomes into any class. For example, a cooking class can be non-STEM. But if you start doing measurement and nutrition, now we're starting to make it STEM. And then the 4th category is STEM enrichment, which are the after-school programs and the field trips and the guest speakers and all the stuff that is outside of the curriculum. So I think one of the things, it sounds like you're, and I'm just doing this at CCBC, but I have talked to some folks at the national level. They said one of the biggest issues they're having with STEM is this lack of a definition. There's really nobody that has really put their arms around it. MSDE is interested in the taxonomy. This national organization was interested in this taxonomy because what it does, STEM already has tentacles everywhere, but what this does is it allows us to have sort of, well, this is STEM, but this is STEM related, which is also important. Or I'm not teaching STEM, but I'm teaching writing, but we're going to do a writing sample based on a technical STEM piece, and so you can incorporate it anywhere. It makes it a little more inclusive. So that's just one of my ideas. Anybody else doing something at their schools? I want to add a few more things to the list. You talked about anything else going on? We have AP courses, we have the technical school and the STEM programs.
Well, same sort of thing. I just shared that for years our school has not had a computer science program, so we made a very concerted effort this year to try to figure out how to make that happen for our students in our master schedule and who we were going to be able to, get trained to teach it and that sort of thing. And we think we've figured that out, which is exciting.
second. One of the things you said that would be nice to have at your schools if you could find a way was STEM learning environments. I agree. I think we can define that a little differently, but I think it incorporates partnering with businesses and organizations and really allowing, just really exposing students is really what it's about.
I think it's what the programs do after school. My daughter decided to join the Green Engineer program, and she's not really math and sciencing, but once she got in it, she loved the fact of building, of learning how to build. They did a sea perch and went to the Naval Academy for a competition, but it was grant funded through NASA. That's how they got
Okay,
the
so
program.
what we want to do, I'm trying to think whether to put this in before something that's already been done. It sounds like you'd want to continue it, provide money for after-school enrichment and
Right.
field trips.
So that gained her interest, and we're talking about, making the learning environment to kids who really just don't know it yet, but that they are interested in STEM.
Yeah.
And that's more so on the high school level. They don't know what they want sometimes.
I think taking trips is meaningful. I really do. Okay, anything else that you would like to see changed or that you personally might do differently when you go back to your schools?
I think next year, we've already talked about doing like monthly career themes, at our school. Like our principal said something to us about doing like a career fair, and I like winced and made this face, and she was like, well, do what you want. So I was like, what if we did like monthly career themes? And I was thinking of doing them in cluster areas, and then, maybe incorporating STEM into that so that students can get more of a feel for what that really means related to different career clusters and specifically STEM.
We had a few teachers in the other program that tried to do something similar, like one had a STEM bulletin board, and they would post things of, it's like current events that were going on in STEM, and another one did STEM videos. With each unit that she did in mathematics, she would do a STEM video that showed with a career that was attached to it. And they didn't really look at grades. They did a survey sort of pre-post, and they found that the students' interest in STEM did go up significantly when they were exposed to these different careers, because they saw what the purpose is. I mean, so many times, my husband was a high school math teacher. He said the number of times a student would say, what am I ever going to use this for, was just sort of overwhelming. And these careers kind of help answer that question. Why am I taking this course anyway? So I think that's a really good one. Anything else that you all thought about doing differently?
We use, our county uses a web-based tool called Naviance, and I think it's probably in Worcester. And I would like to see, that has so many aspects, it houses so many different links.
Yes.
So what we're trying to put into our schedule, because we're going from a 5-period to a 7-period, is a Naviance type college and career readiness period where they get to explore all the different things that STEM can offer. Because there's just no time, we were talking about
Yeah.
testing, there's no time in the classroom to do that. And they're certainly not going to do it on their own after
No,
school.
I agree. I think that's good. Those are excellent. Opening eyes is coming up the wrong time, right in the projector. All right, so I'm gonna save these, I'm gonna bring them up, see if I can do this, Joel, without asking you to do this, so. So they're all up there. Let me just go back one so you can see that I put down some of the things that you said you were already doing. And then this will be saved when I send it to you. You'll get all of these, and these are your ideas. And this is a list of STEM videos, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to show them to you. But this is just a starting point for you. If you want to do a kind of a monthly career cluster on STEM, or you want to use them, I just thought they were pretty good because when you think science, you just think some general physics, biology, chemistry. You don't think how you're going to use it. So this is a wildlife biologist, which is a different kind of take on it. When you think of technology, this is on careers in music technology, which you may have students who might be thinking technology means programming, and there's more to it than that. I mean, it's certainly one thing. It's not that it's bad, but there's more to it. Engineering. This was a civil engineer. There's so many different directions you can go in with engineering. so it doesn't have to be mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. And again, there's nothing wrong with those fields, but I think when I think of engineering, I think of electrical engineering. I don't tend to think of all civil engineering. And then there's a careers for math majors. So at least there's something for everyone, and you might be able to use those videos. But what I
So education too has a lot of like videos that you can do, I mean, and you can,
want to actually write that down on your PowerPoint.
I've used several, they have like.
No, I don't want to take it down.
I guess they're like clips or whatever, and you can pick ones that are like catered to, or like, I've used them for, like when I'm trying to show them different things.
Okay.
But, I mean.
But they have them for specific ages. Like these videos, I don't think could be used at the elementary. So that's good to know that you have that option. These are better, more for high school or early college, so they wouldn't be as good for elementary. What I do want to say before we go to lunch is one of the things that they have discovered that differentiates those people who go into STEM and are successful and those who don't is a type of skill that is no longer taught, which is spatial skills. Spatial skills, actually, believe it or not, used to be taught to women when women took sewing classes. Because if you think about it, if you're sewing, you're laying out a flat pattern, and somehow you have to create a three-dimensional garment from that. So they had to be able to go from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. They had to visualize what a pattern would look like for a sleeve. I don't know if any of you have ever seen a sleeve pattern, but you know what a sleeve looks like. The pattern is larger in the back than in the front. It looks like this, and somehow you have to visualize how that's going to fit into the garment. For young men, they would do other types of things. I think they would go into woodworking class, and it was a day. And some of you are nodding who are in my age group or whatever you're going. Yeah, I remember the days when the boys went one way and the girls went another way. I'm not saying that's a good answer because I don't think that is necessarily the answer, but it did seem as though it made a difference. Now girls are just not exposed to spatial skills. But boys continue to be simply because their interests are different. Now, as I told you, I believe we all can learn exactly the same way, but we are born with different interests. And boys tend to be slightly more interested in building blocks, and so Legos are a huge hit for boys. Girls have a tendency to want to sort of grow up too fast, and so Barbie dolls become a real interest. When you are building with Legos, you are developing spatial skills. When you are playing with Barbie dolls, you are not. And so what has happened is there is a great disparity between spatial skills in males and in females. And so for a while they thought maybe it was developmental, they thought maybe it was just boys naturally have better spatial skills than females. But what they have found is that spatial skills are teachable, that we can all learn them. Just like we talked about before with learning, they have to be motivated, they have to be willing to go through trial and error, they have to be willing to then go into advanced practice, all of that. But it takes only about a 2-week course that is actually out there to bring girls up to the same level as boys on spatial skills. Now, what does that mean by spatial skills? Let me just give you an example. You can actually get to these rotation skills test if you want to try it online, but I'm going to give you something else to work on online that I think will be nice for you. But one of the things they look at is the ability to visualize three-dimensionally. So if we look at this particular object, try to imagine what that looks like three-dimensionally. This is the same object, but it has been rotated. Is that making sense? You can see that. This is the same object rotated. So the question is, this three-dimensional object, if we rotate it the same way this one has been rotated, which of these will it look like? These are all the same object, but only one of them is rotated exactly the same way. So give it a second and see if you can figure out which one it is. Don't call it out, just take a second or two and see if you can figure it out. So raise your hand if you think A is the answer. There it is. Raise your hand if you think B is the answer. C, and D, and D is incorrect answer, and then E. So this is a way to test your abilities. Now, let's go to something, and then just so you can see, based on the way, without any skills being taught, what happens is, you can see that in every case, the males outperform females. It is particularly poignant that in the African American community, when we disaggregate by race, we see that the male African Americans are scoring lower than white females. But in every case, females are underscoring males. So what can we do about it with our classrooms? So what we're gonna do is while you're eating, you can get your meals and then sit back down and play. You can talk to each other during this time too, because we don't have to get back together for a while. But one of the things I want you to do on the computers is to go to this particular site. You can probably just look up Play with Your Mind. But there is a color puzzle, and there's different levels, and the directions are pretty clear. But basically, you will get a puzzle, and a piece or two will be missing from that. Several pieces will be missing, but you have to match the pieces up, not just by shape, but by color as well. And then you can go into more advanced. But it will give you a chance to see if you like this program, to see if this is something you want to do with your students. But this is a type of program which is free, and it will teach your students some spatial skills. So that might be something you might want to do while you're at lunch. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you go to lunch now, and you can go out if you want to. You can stay here and work on the computers. You can do whatever you want to do. We will reconvene a little bit before 1 o'clock. Does that sound okay to everybody? All right, good.